CataractCoach.com, podcast series, episode number 133, with Dr. Tina Khanam, Understanding Imposter Syndrome and Unconscious Bias. Welcome back to our Cataract Coach podcast. Today, my guest is going to teach me and you something that I probably don't know enough about, and that is unconscious bias. And for that, we have Dr. Tina Khanam. Welcome, my dear. Teach me about this topic. What is it?
Thank you, Uday, for inviting me to your podcast. And yeah, I'm really passionate about this topic of unconscious bias, which just means what happens in the background in milliseconds. So most of our existence happens in our conscious life, which is in 5% of our being, and you've got your subconscious self, which makes up about 95% of your being. So when you have the fight and flight pathway that triggers when you're faced with any stress, or when you're visualizing in everyday work, then this kicks in, and this kind of flight and fight pathway helped your ancestor live and thrive in the environment they were in. But it doesn't serve you in modern day life, even though it helps you with stressful situations. So what happens is, when you are visualizing any situation, so for example, I did this recent talk on leadership and diversity when we delved into the unconscious bias, where I got the participants to close their eyes and visualize certain roles. So professor of ophthalmology, for example, or the president of ESCRS or EKS Chris. And people will conjure up different types of visualization of those roles in their mind that will be different from yours and mine. So if your network is full of Caucasian or same-sex couples, then those kind of images will conjure up. But if you're not in that network, your professional and your personal network doesn't conjure up a diverse role, then your flight and fight pathway won't conjure up those images. So that's part of the subconscious self. So every interactions you've ever had since you're in utero and since you're born has been stored there, and it's accessed in milliseconds when you're faced with stress. So that kind of gets in the way of making everyday decision in your workplace. So for example, we've got very good papers and very good evidence coming out from the North Americans and the Western countries that there are unconscious bias in professional lives, in medicine, in surgery and orthopedics, and probably in ophthalmology. We just haven't written much about it. So just by being a female trainee, they will get less opportunities for surgery. They will get they will score lower because they're female, and that's part of that unconscious bias that people have who are in the gatekeeping practice.
So explain that to me again. I don't know if I follow completely.
Yeah.
So just the problem by being female, what's the bias?
So it's been shown that if female trainee has asked for a reference letter from their referees, compared to male trainees who've asked for a reference letter from their mentors, they will get less ringing endorsement because they're female. They will get more reference to grindstone qualities. This trainee was hardworking. This trainee was very good at conscientious. So that kind of grindstone references will be made about the quality of their character.
In my experience is totally different.
Yeah,
I don't buy this.
No,
maybe I guess it's very dependent on who the person is. Now, here's my own bias.
Yeah.
My mother was a physician. My grandmother was a physician.
Yeah.
All three of my sisters are physicians. The mother of my kids is a physician. My daughter is in medical school.
Yeah.
So to me, and for letters of recommendation, I would always do the easiest thing. I always wanted all of my residents to register your career. I always support you. So I would tell them, if you want me to give you a recommendation letter, you write me the letter.
Yeah.
I'll put it on my letterhead and sign it. Whatever you want.
Yeah.
So
no,
I don't know I don't know how would I be biased here? I don't get it.
Yeah. No, you're probably thinking of your experience because you've had sounds like you've had very good role models of female role models in your career, in your life, in your personal life. And in your career, you've taken that forward and you've been very supportive of your trainees. But it's not every mentor or gatekeeping role is like yours. So, not all trainees will have similar experiences who are not training under you.
Well, of course, we can say this about everyone. But back to your diversity, there's a diversity of people you're going to work with in terms of their outlook or in terms of their biases. But I don't know. I mean, we're at an age now in the U.S. where more than half of medical students are female. Yeah. More than half of young ophthalmologists are female.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, because even in UK, we publish 60% of our medical school intakes are female. And similar in US, it's more than 56% of their female intakes, medical students are female. But if you look at the hierarchy, if you look at the leaders, less than 30% of them make up females only. Still, there's 70% of male leadership roles compared to only 30%, and that's been shown in UK and in US. So it's not a problem of when students are entering medical school. It's more later on in leadership roles. So when they're consultants or attendees and they're going for those board positions or leadership positions, that's where you see the disparity more than at medical school.
In a perfect world, wouldn't we all just be judged on our own merit?
Yeah, that is true. So there is no mutually exclusivity. So there's no, if you think of diversity, that you can't think of meritocracy. So they go in hand. So there's papers that come out that if you have a diverse group in your workforce, you drive innovation. So everyone got there because of their merit, and just because they're of diverse background doesn't mean they don't have the merit to be there. And if they are more diverse in your workforce, then you drive innovation, and it's better for business as well. So
I have a question. Let's forget ophthalmology for a minute, because I'm not the smartest ophthalmologist. But let's talk about in the orchestra, the London Symphony Orchestra. Now, when you want to try out to be one of the amazing violinists there, in the tryout, they have a curtain separating the violin player who's trying out, and on the other side of the curtain are the judges who are listening, and they do it purely based on how well you play. So if they do this, and then you end up with, out of the 20 violinists, if 15 are female, was there a bias panel then?
Well, they took great measures to blind themselves. So the judges were blinded.
But then the outcome is not equal. Then I could argue the outcome is the problem is now 75% of the people you have chosen are female, only 25% are male. Isn't that like contrary to what you want? You want them to be equal.
I don't necessarily want them to be equal. What I want to highlight is the awareness that unconscious bias exists, and that leads on to the imposter syndrome, and that is really blocking your resources. So those people who could have been great are not reaching their highest potential and living their highest authentic self because imposter syndrome is blocking it, and because they weren't given that opportunity. So it's not necessarily that I'm a feminist or I want equality, I want the numbers. Having quota system is very derogatory to that diverse sector. So I don't want just a female to be elected to a board, for example, or onto the podium just because they're female. That's going to defeat the purpose. We want them to be judged on their merit. But what I want to recognize is that the struggles are different. If you're a female trainee, the struggles will be different. If you are from ethnic minority, the struggles will be different from who.
In what way? In what way?
because they will have to overcome other other struggles. So for example, so if you're from ethnic minority, then in a ethnic majority country, so for example, if you will have to work that much harder before you feel like you're qualified to apply for the same job than your counterpart who has
I never felt that way. I never once in my life felt that way.
Yeah, that's good. That's because
I
you.
don't. I don't quite get it. Well, I look in the mirror.
Yeah,
I don't. I look a little bit ethnic, if you don't mind me saying so.
yeah,
But I never had. I got a really weird name. I wish I had an easier name sometimes, but I'll roll with it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
never felt these things. I felt, at least in the U.S., and I'm older than you.
yeah.
I felt when I was growing up. I'm in my 50s. When I was growing up, I never felt that I had less opportunity.
That's lovely to hear. But there are some people who will feel like they can't get those opportunities and the seat at the table because of where their lives are or where their diversity piece is. So that's what I want to highlight, that, you know, these biases exist and we can't just brush them under the carpet and pretend they don't happen.
So aren't some of the biases in this person's own mind? If I
Yes.
went out in the world thinking that the world was against me because of my gender or my look or my ethnicity or whatever nonsense, if I went out thinking that, it's kind of going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'll do worse.
Exactly.
But if I think that, listen, the world is my oyster and I have every opportunity, I'll go out and achieve what I want to achieve.
I'm so glad you brought this up. So this is working towards, instead of working from victim mentality, you're working from the abundance mentality. And that's what I want people to shift to. And most of that negotiation and, work has to be done inner. So there is an inner struggle, and that's where the imposter syndrome comes in. So you need to win and negotiate with yourself that you're just as good as someone who is not, hasn't got that diversity piece that you identify with. So yeah, you're right. So most of the work that you have done probably is because you've overcome that initial block in your mind saying you can't achieve what the other person is achieving who doesn't look like you. So yeah, I'm absolutely with you that the implicit bias and the unconscious bias first starts with the person, the self.
Right. I think in my own mind, like if someone said to me,
yeah,
tell me the person you hate the most, and you get $50, but then they get 100. I said, I'd love that, because then I hate myself. Not all the time, just sometimes. So I'd get $150. I get both.
Yeah.
So I think that's a normal struggle. I always beat myself up, like thinking, oh my God, I should have done better. Why am I so bad? Why am I so dumb? But I get over it. But I'm most self-critical. No one hates me more than me. No one's more critical of me than I am of myself. No question.
That is another interesting point, because as a whole, ophthalmologists attract people like who are highly critical of themselves because they're type A personality. So and that also generates growth and innovation in certain personality, but it can be also a block in someone who who doesn't do that inner work that you mentioned. When you look in your mirror and you say, I look a bit ethnic, but I'm just as good as the person who doesn't. So yeah, that's those are the two distinctions of doing the inner work as well as what's happening outside, which you can't control, but what's happening within you, it's completely within your control. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I mean, all important points, but I just think it's kind of hard to make big generalizations like this. There's no question. At some point in my life, something stopped me and someone said, we don't want him. He's too this, that, or the other. Okay. But in my own mind, it just never stopped. Okay, I'll move on. What's the difference? Life is full of opportunities. If it's not this, it's the next.
Yeah.
I'm not really bothered by it.
Yeah.
But I think to get to this point, like going back to our example of like, I just want to stand on my own merit.
Yeah.
That's what I want to be. And I don't like all the little subcategories and this and that. I want to be I want to be the best I can be.
Yeah.
But I think in our society right now, instead of focusing on giving people equal opportunity, we're trying to create equal outcome.
Yeah.
And that's not a great idea.
Well, the whole point of this exercise is not to push for equity, is to push for the best self that we can be. So the best authentic self that we can be, so we can serve our patients better and we can reach that potential. So I don't advocate equity. I think there are certain roles that we have to do as a female. So for example, being a mom, I can do that better than, rearing children or rearing my child. I can do that better than my husband. So there's different roles, there's different ways of doing it. But this whole conversation is not to say that, we are pushing for equal rights for women, for example. The whole conversation is that there are challenges of unconscious bias, and we need to grow and use that as points of opportunities. So if anywhere where there's struggles or challenges equal, there's an opportunity for growth. And if we recognize that, then we bring a lot more people with us, and we lead from a place where everyone is included, everyone is felt like, there's potential for growth for them, and there is no imposter syndrome, hopefully, and hopefully there won't be any unconscious bias. So that was my big vision. So I've come up with 3 little acronyms. So
okay, let's hear them. Teach me.
The 3 little adjectives or alliteration that I use is, whenever a situation arises, I want to recognize if there's any subconscious bias, which means bringing it from my subconscious into my consciousness. That becomes the awareness stage. That's the first stage. And the second stage would be doing balanced reflection. What am I going to do by bringing it into my conscious self? Where do I want it to change? And why do I want it to change? And what are the reflective points of growth I can take from that? So that's the second stage. And the third stage is being creative, really having that abundant mindset to say that, I can rewire those brain cells and those subconscious thoughts and reinvent the wires and create new ones, new connections to make things better for me, for example, if I'm working within myself, or for my team who's going through a challenge. And that's the thing I look at. So recognize, reflect, and reinvent. And that's my big vision, to get rid of unconscious bias, not from within ourselves only, but also from our workplace in ophthalmology.
Recognize,
reflect,
and then
reinvent.
That's very clever. I like that. It's kind of easy to remember that way.
Yes, I thought I'd work on an alliteration that people can easily tap into.
Yeah, I like alliteration, right? Cataract Coach.
Yes, I know. Yeah, you like your alliteration.
So let's talk about this. So what are the things we should recognize in ophthalmology? Ophthalmology is easier for me to understand.
Yes.
What are the things we should recognize?
So in ophthalmology, so as I said, when you're doing your, there are two different points. So one point in ophthalmology is who you're going to recruit to be in your team and who are you going to promote. So if you are training someone, you've been training and mentoring a lot of people. So who are you going to work with and how are you going to promote them? And in ophthalmology, if you think that, we've been selected into this elite program because of our merit, so everyone can do it, we're there because of our merit, it's rotating that opportunities. So everyone gets equal opportunities to take that podium, for example, or present or grow in their own way, because not everyone's growth will be at the same pace. So some people would be growing at a different pace because of their life circumstances or because of their personality. So really recognizing rotating opportunities help your trainees or your staff members, and also blinding your processes. So if you have your recruiting processes where you've got lots of applications, so that you're not tapping into your unconscious bias, you take out the names. So you don't know what the names are. So for example, my name is Tina Bushra Khanam. Tina is very Western, but Bushra Khanam is Arabic. So, some people who don't like Arabic people for any number of reasons, they might have different, it might have different connotation for them with my name. So if you take out the name from the application when you're shortlisting them, that's one way of blinding yourself, so you're not tapping into your unconscious bias. And then when you're interviewing, you are seeking data. So you're not going with gut feeling of how you feel about the candidates. Gut feelings can be wrong because they tap into unconscious bias. So you're really seeking data. So you're saying, I get this feeling about this candidate, but why am I feeling this? Is it because there's some concrete data in front of me, or is there some other research I can do to find out a bit more about the candidate to see the suitability? So really being aware that your role in the gatekeeping position is so important to see who gets in and who is promoted. And that's really useful in ophthalmology and running your practice.
It's very, very interesting there. Yeah, there are a lot of opportunities for us to be very much easily blinded.
Yeah.
Each senior resident send me your, the first case of the day. So you don't cherry pick.
Yeah.
Or maybe send me your last 5 cases, and we can review all the videos, and I don't have to know who is who, and they're all assigned a name or number.
Yes.
But then what do you do at the end here? Let's say you do this process for your applications and you take out the names, or you assign them a number, which I think is great because then they'll just stand on the merit. But then what if at the end then of your pool of people you've chosen, what if they're, like I said, it's 75% women, 90% women then? Is that okay?
And if it's 90% women, then you've got to, because it doesn't usually happen, because women are less likely to apply for a position if they don't feel like they can,
Well, that's like a generalization. The generalization. The one thing I think we're failing to talk about is that there's a bell curve distribution for everything in life.
That's true. You're right. There is it, but
at some point, I think it comes down to personal responsibility. You got to take responsibility for your own future and your own opportunities, and you got to go out there and just make it happen.
Definitely.
One of these, maybe I'll get your advice on this. I had an issue. I used to teach residents a lot, a lot, for 22 years. And I stopped doing it a couple of years ago. But one of the issues I had was the administration told me, of these residents that you're teaching, why is this one is doing twice as much service as the other one? And I said, well, I give every resident the identical number of operating room days, even down to the hour.
Okay.
But the one resident is so efficient that this resident does, in let's say one day, 12 surgeries, and the other resident only did 6. So then the administration told me, well, no, the one who's only doing 6, that person needs twice as many OR days. And to me, that struck me as wrong. No, I want to give you the equal opportunity, not the equal outcome. And it turns out the one who only did 6 in a day was also the one who didn't want to use the surgical simulator, never did, who didn't go practice suturing in the wet lab like I tell them to do, my 10-10-10 rule, which is 10 sutures of 10 or 9 out of 10 minutes. Couldn't do it, didn't put any effort in. Well, then what do you expect? Want me to keep spoon feeding you? So I said no. I said every resident gets the identical number of OR days, identical to the number of hours even, and they have to work at their level.
That is true. So that's a different point. The point you're highlighting is that one person didn't do the preparation, that's why they're falling behind. So you already know where the growth can happen. So the question is, did the trainee want to know where they're and why they're doing 6 compared to the other trainee? Or did they want to embrace that, they haven't done the preparatory work that you've suggested, hence they're falling behind? So that will be part of their personal responsibility that you talk about. But is there any blocks for them, not to take on what advice you've given them? So that might be another arena to look at. That
you can't spoon feed them. You can't spoon feed them. They're not babies.
I know.
You have to take responsibility for your own life. The other thing too is there's a distribution of skill sets.
Yes.
So if you say I need you to be able to shoot 10 basketball free throws in a row.
Yeah.
And you give me the basketball, I'm really bad. It will take me a lot more practice, but over the course of a year, I bet you I could get good enough.
Yeah.
But I could have another friend who's so good. In a week of practicing, they can always do 10 in a row.
Yeah.
But so if I'm a slower learner, I can't just say, well, he worked for a week, I'll work for a week. No, I may need to put in more work. I may not have that natural ability as much as some other person because of the bell curve distribution of life.
Yeah.
And so I need to work harder.
That's true.
I think the problem I see is, at least in the US, at least in my experience, what a bit of an entitlement and not a personal responsibility.
I get that sense of that sentiment, and I hear you, but we have to also look at person by person. So we can't generalize and say everyone is, they have a sense of entitlement, they want more, they want to be spoon-fed. I have trained in NHS, which is the most rigorous hierarchical system that you can think of. I have been infantilized for a decade while training, so I know that. So I know why people feel like, they feel disenchanted and they feel like, this is not working, because you have to see the culture. So the culture, if you foster a culture of growth and acceptance and, that hard work and personal responsibility you talked about, then most people will get on board. But if you infantilize your trainees or your team members, they will get disenchanted. They won't, achieve their highest potential. And they will not live their highest authentic self. And you're right, there is a bell distribution. So there will be people who will never be as good as people on the right side of the bell side distribution. So you have to allow for different talents, different attitudes, what kind of culture you're setting in your workforce, and is that blocking them? And the imposter syndrome, which is completely true for most people. It doesn't just happen to women, it happens to men, women, everyone. It's multifactorial. So really fostering a culture that, we recognize there will be a bell size distribution, your talent will be different, your diversity will be different, your so many other factors will be different. It's what we can do, what's in our control. So absolutely, personal responsibility, working within yourself and taking that on board for your growth is entirely in your control. What's not in your control is what's happening outside. So if you are in a leadership position and you're in a gatekeeping position of being, the CEO of eye practice, you can shift that culture and you can make that external environment fertile for their growth. Does that make sense?
Sure. What steps would you be? Let's say your example of your CEO of this eye group.
Yeah.
What steps would you take? What would you recommend?
Yeah, so we also delved into that in our recent leadership and diversity course at ESCRIS in the weekend. So we talked about, again, how are we recruiting? So we talked about a little bit of recruitment. Then we talked about how to make it inclusive. So for example, this particular eye group that talked on this topic were based in Ireland, and they made sure that they gave all their staff member equal amount of paternity leave and maternity leave, and they introduced phase return, and they really, had that human interaction when people were coming back from maternity leave, making sure there's separate areas for them to pump, for example, if they're, nursing mothers, and those kind of culture shift and culture things built into your practice really help to not only make people feel valued and included, but also feel like, your boss cares about your situation, and boss cares about your growth and achieving that highest potential that you can do and you can achieve. So those kind of things really help if you're in a position of leadership.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, for imposter syndrome, I sometimes think that all of us have this to a degree. And I'll give you a fun example. So this last weekend, the ES in Copenhagen, I did my best of CataractCoach course, which was every seat filled.
Yeah.
And there was a line of 200 people out the door who couldn't even get in the room.
Lovely.
And then afterwards, When people want to take selfies with me, I said, in my mind, I said, you know, I'm just a geek. I'm nothing special.
Yeah, that's
nothing.
I'm so glad you
so
think.
I still have imposter syndrome now. Like, I think I'm okay. I'm nothing. I'm just a random guy.
Yeah.
Okay, sure, I'll take a selfie with you, but I'm nothing.
That's a lovely thing to hear. So yeah, we should all be coming from a position of humility and growth and servitude. And it's really lovely to hear you say that, coming from a cataract coach. That's really a lot. So yeah, imposter syndrome is endemic. It happens at different stages of life to a lot of people. In the papers, they report 76% of us will experience imposter syndrome at some point of our life. And I think it happens more than that. It just people don't report it.
Isn't it just human nature though?
Is it human nature? Yeah, it could be human nature, but there are things you can do to, first stage of anything, any topic or any issue is to make it come out of your subconscious into your consciousness, to make yourself aware that this happens to everyone and these are the steps you can take to get rid of it. So this is not a blockage. So what you don't want is the imposter syndrome becoming a block to what you want to achieve. So you want to be in A and you are at B. How do you get to A? And if imposter syndrome is blocking you, then it's a problem. But like you said, you have imposter syndrome, but that's not blocking you. So it's not a problem. So I'm talking about those people who really blocks for them to grow. You need to make sure that they understand what the imposter syndrome is doing. Why is it blocking?
To me, it doesn't block me. It just tells me that I should work harder.
Yeah. So
I need more. I need to do much more. I got to work harder.
Exactly. So you have really shifted into this abundance mindset where you tap into your creativity and say, I need to do more. I need to be more creative. I just need to work harder to get past the imposter syndrome. Not many people have that tool, and it can be a learned tool and learned skill. And that's why I want to raise awareness, because a lot of people will find it helpful to learn that skill.
But if it's, you said 76% of people report imposter syndrome, and it's probably higher than that. To me, that means it's human nature. If 80-90% of people exhibit this trait, it sounds like it's pretty normal then.
Yeah, that's it. The first step is to make it normalized. Talk about it, make yourself aware, and really embrace that, this shouldn't be a blockage to growth. That's what we want. We want more people to be in their abundance mindset.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I guess we're all works in progress in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. It's a journey, isn't it? So learning to enjoy the journey rather than your end goal.
So is there now still, do you still think in the modern age, in 2025, is there still a lot of this bias out there in ophthalmology?
I believe so, because if you look at this is not published, we're just gathering data, and another group is gathering data on this. So if you look at the ESCRIs that we just attended last weekend, they are still struggling to get their quota of 40% attendees being female ophthalmologists. It's still, the majority is male. And also,
why do we need this number? I don't understand that. Why not just, like the meeting, it's open to all, everyone's welcome. I can't control everyone else's life.
No, it's not about control. It's about making your...
You want to make 40% of the people attend this meeting of one gender.
That's not...
I don't get it.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this is the ESCRIS's agenda of increasing their female attendees into their meeting to drive the diversity quota. And I'm not saying we need to be equal. I'm just saying
we have the quotas. Should we have quotas?
We shouldn't have quotas.
You said you want to do this to drive the diversity quota. Do we need quotas?
No, we don't need quota. But I'm just citing to you what the ESCRIS is written on their website. They want their attendees to be more female, because the female numbers is around 30%. But I'm just saying the other quotes that I can give you from papers that's been published in peer-reviewed journals, is that if you look at the podium presence, most of the podium speakers are male, and not many are those female speakers. And if you speak to some of the people who are invited or who are trying to invite more female speakers, completely everyone has merits to be on that podium, but they're trying to get more females with those merits up on the podium. They're finding it difficult. I've also heard that some people are saying, you know, they turn down the invitation to come on the podium because they want to spend more time with their family and they don't want to spend weekend away from their kids, and that's why they're not getting the females up there. Those kind of things.
That's personal decision then. That's personal choice.
It's personal decision, but there are other sectors where they're saying, I want to present my data and I think this will contribute to the meeting, but I'm not being invited. So we really need to look at who's being invited and who's been re-invited to the podium. So there are lots more work to be done on that front, but I'm not saying that to push for any quota. I'm just saying that, there are underrepresentation on every editorial boards across the, most popular journals in ophthalmology. There's underrepresentation on the podium, and those kind of things. If we don't bring it into our awareness and recognize that, we can't do anything about it. So it's good that we are writing about these things. We're discussing it. We're bringing it to the forefront, and we're really recognizing that all of these speakers will have merits. The female speaker will be just as meritorious as the male one, but they are less likely to be on the podium. Why is that? And how can we help?
Right. Yeah, obviously it's multifactorial. There are a lot of reasons. Yeah. But for me, I'll tell you, I was not invited to the ESCRS.
Yeah.
I submitted a course.
Yeah.
It got accepted. I paid out of my own pocket to fly 11 and a half hours from Los Angeles to Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Very expensive city, by the way. My crummy hotel room was so expensive for this terrible room. I could not believe it.
I know. But I have the same sentiment. I share the same sentiment.
Obviously, I spent a ton of money just to get there and give my lecture, but I wasn't invited I do my own. Yeah. Just make your own invitation. Do what you want.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I do. I don't wait to be invited. I put in the instructional course like you did. If it gets submitted, then I come up and do my thing, which I did. And that's what, the leadership and diversity course that I've just done in the weekend was my debut at the ESCRS. And it was
very good.
Such a great milestone. And, there's something I'm passionate about. And I want more awareness in this field and really drive that innovation and growth in that field. Not because I want to push for equity or is because I recognize there will be merits in all parts of the diversity piece, and we just need to have the representation visible.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think we are our works in progress, our society, our medical schools, our training. It keeps evolving. If you look way back, now my grandmother died many years ago, and she lived to be 100. So she did med school where she was the only female in her entire class.
Amazing.
And then when my mother, who's dead too, she did med school again. It was probably, and she was one of maybe a couple women in her med school class. Yeah. Now you go to my sisters and basically my age. Med schools were maybe slightly more male than female, let's say in the early 1990s, mid 1990s. But now you look at my daughter, and now the med schools are no, for sure, it's 60. Her med school is 60%.
Yeah, I believe
so
that.
Obviously, we've made a lot of progress, and certainly there were issues in the past, no question about it.
Yeah, we have come a long way. Definitely, the journey is still evolving and progressing, but we have got to do a bit more growth in the leadership positions. That's where the underrepresentations are. Medical school, we are outshining, we've got 60% of female intakes, and we want to grow meritorious candidates.
Right.
Be they male, female, Caucasian, Arabic, Hindu, and whatever their diversity piece is. But we want to make sure it's represented at each part of the journey, not just medical school, also in attendees, also in the podium, also in the leadership boards, and also in the editorial boards.
But then we give a lot of factors. You want to have like equalize the gender, equalize, societal factor, equalize the ethnicity, equalize. There's a lot of equalization. I don't know necessarily. Does it always end up that way? I don't know. Should we have the same equalization among like football players?
No, maybe that word is misleading. What I want is more visibility and representation to reflect the society. We live in multi-diverse society. We've got a very diverse society now. And, I want that representation because it builds trust. See, you can't be what you can't see. So if you can't see someone who's going to be, who looks like you in those leadership positions, you'll never aspire to be on the leadership positions.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I never met anyone who looked like me when I was doing all my training, who was in a leadership or chairman of the department. It didn't deter me one bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that really true? Do I have to see that I don't know.
Maybe not for you, but not everyone's like Uday Devgan, who does.
Listen, you got to be yourself at the end of the day. But I get what you're saying, but yeah, it's complicated. It's not as easy as I thought it'd be to understand. I'm probably more confused now than I was 40 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's good. So first stage of awareness and understanding is confusion. So you look and you research more and you try to find out and find that clarity. So it's good. I've confused you. So you look into it more.
You're going to need help with the rethinking and the reinventing here.
Yes, yeah. So you'll reflect, you'll research, and you'll reinvent. Yeah, no, that's good. So I've achieved my mission.
Yeah, it's funny. I just never thought of myself as anything other than American.
Yeah.
I just kind of never did. And at the end of the day, it's just like when I'm flying home from Copenhagen to LA on that long flight, way too long.
Yeah.
I don't care anything about the pilot other than that the pilots score at least 99% on all your exams and are incredibly talented as a pilot. That's all I care about. The rest, I don't care anything else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's how it should be. And we have to recognize we've come such a long way, recognize that, there's going to be merits. Doesn't matter what the person looks like. And those merits needs to shine through. There shouldn't be any implicit bias. There shouldn't be any imposter syndrome blocking them. And, some people are going to be in your turf where they don't need other people to, remove that block for them. But, other people will need some skills into how to remove the block for themselves. So that inner work that we talked about, which is within your control, and we want to empower people so they can take back that control and, achieve and be their highest self. And that's what we want.
But even if you have these, listen, I had people, if I think back now, when I was a resident, there was one faculty member.
Yeah.
Where he would only do research with you and only teach you only if you were male and had blue eyes. It was no question.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me one bit. I work with other faculty members. Next, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. We have to realize if you're in the abundant mindset, those kind of things doesn't knock you. You just move on and find other opportunities to make that happen for yourself. So it's really getting yourself from that victim mentality to abundance mindset. That's what we want.
How can we do that? What's a good way of doing that? Maybe I got lucky and I'm too dumb to be bogged down by other stuff. I just keep going. Maybe my ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
How do we teach younger here's how to have more abundance mindset and just go get the opportunities, go achieve what you want.
Exactly.
How do I do that?
Yes. So if you think of the victim mentality, they will always have an aggressor, a victim, and a rescuer. So you want to make sure you get rid of the rescuer. So you want to coach. You want coach to replace the rescuer. You want the victim to be the progressor, which is your growth mindset. And you want the aggressor to be a challenger. So if they can switch that triangle from victim, aggressor, rescuer to coach, challenger, and growth, then you just need to change the triangle to an abundance mindset rather than a victim mindset.
How do you do that?
How do you do that? So recognize that every person is whole and resourceful. They don't need, they're not broken. You're not there to fix their problem. They can fix it themselves. So, this is about the personal responsibility you talked about. So each person will have questions and challenges, then they can overcome themselves. They don't need other people to rescue them. They don't need other people to give them solution because they're not broken. They're whole and resourceful. So that's where the abundance mindset will come from, by recognizing that you are whole and resourceful and you can solve your own problems.
That makes a lot of sense. That really does.
Yeah. So I made you less confused.
No, I'm still pretty confused. But I don't know. I'm just kind of dumb. I always think I can fix anything with just working harder.
Yeah, working harder. Yeah, that is the thing. So just being persistent is one of the great qualities, because this is a long or short journey depending on how you look at it. Everyone's heading the same way. We don't have much time on the earth. We just need to be humble and keep working.
Oh, believe me, you're too young to realize this, but once you hit 50, you think, wait a minute, I'm definitely on the second half. I better enjoy every moment.
Exactly, enjoy every moment, because this is a rare gift that's not going to last for long.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. So I think we're making good progress here. I think it's very interesting to talk to you about this, and I certainly learned a lot.
Yeah.
And hopefully these things, your course is going to be obviously very popular now. We're going to get the word out. And next year, the ESCRS is close to you, near your home in London.
Yes, you'll be in London, and I'm hoping that I'll be invited to do the course again, and it'll be packed out. And one day I will aspire to have 200 people going around the corner and queuing up to get into my course.
No, you'll exceed that, even, no question about it. But this is really good information to kind of think about. I did learn a lot. I really appreciate the long conversation here.
Yeah, thank you. I think I didn't really explain the unconscious bias that well, but it gives you fruit for thought, so you can go and research yourself and get that clarity yourself.
Well, feel free. You can explain it again. We got nothing but time. If you want to say it succinctly, whatever unconscious bias is. We all know imposter syndrome. That, like I said, I still have today.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because I just think, okay, I just need to work harder.
Yeah.
So I don't let it deter me. Again, I keep that abundance mindset, like, okay, you better work harder. You got to do more.
Yeah. I think the best way I will explain the unconscious bias is if we get everyone to just think of those leadership positions, and if they close their eyes, what kind of images conjure up in their mind?
Okay, let's try this. So close my eyes. What should I think of now?
Okay, so think of the president of ESCRS.
That's easy, because I know her. She's going to be on my podcast soon.
Yes, exactly. And then now think of the professor of ophthalmology in a big multi-center group ophthalmology clinic. And then think of an editorial board leader of a journal that you respect, for example, Nature or GSCRS or whatever you want to think of. Yeah.
Okay.
So all those three images in your head, what colors were the people that you conjured up?
So I know. So first one I think is Filomena Ribeiro. She's the current president of the ESRS. I saw her in Copenhagen. I'm going to have her on my podcast.
Yeah.
So she's just fantastic. And what I really want to talk to her on the podcast about is, under her leadership, ESCRS is on the upswing.
Yeah.
Whereas ASCRS is kind of the downswing. The last ASCRS meeting, the attendance was very poor.
Yeah, I felt that.
ESCRS has a buzz and energy. It's like, wow, that is a growing meeting. So she's done is amazing. So that's what I think of her. For a professor, probably the closest word I can tell you is someone who I've learned so much from over the years is my dear friend Rosa Bragg-Emili at the University of Toronto.
Okay.
And she has taught me so much about ophthalmology, even life. She's tough as nails, and she's just like, love her. She is amazing. Okay. And then editorial board, I couldn't picture one person in my head, but I've had a little bit of a sour taste from editorial board, because I don't think they're actually peer review.
Mm.
My bias is,
Yeah.
so I'll give you an example. We submitted an article for peer review many years ago about AI and lens calculations, IO calculations.
Yeah.
The peer review was they threw it out to 3, quote, peers who had their biases and says, don't publish it.
Okay.
Now, it was such a great thing that we received patents for it.
Wow. Okay.
And now it's huge.
Yeah.
But you turned us down because your peer review were these 3 people, one of whom was a total stinker and said, no, block it completely. As if that's going to make an effort. So now I think, you know what? We got to, my abundance mindset. We reset the system. What's the system? You know what peer review is? I put a video on Cataract Coach today.
Yeah.
It got 20 to 30,000 views. YouTube, Insta, whatever. That is reviewed by my actual peers.
Yeah.
I can put something on Cataract Coach today.
Yeah.
And tens of thousands of ophthalmologists can peer review it today. That's actual peer review. So I don't believe in those other journals. Honestly, it's just I'm just not a fan anymore. I think it's the old way of thinking.
Yeah. So there is a lot of bias in that field. So they are putting. So those people who get on that editorial board, how did they get there?
I don't know. But see, the other thing too is I'm not so concerned. I don't even want to be on the editorial board. Never even asked. Never even tried. It's just not something I care about.
Yeah.
And if an organization or something rejects me, okay, I don't mind. Move on.
Yeah. So that is a great skill.
I don't care.
That is a great skill to have, and really thinking of every challenge as a point of opportunity. You know, if there's a challenge, if they're blocking you, it's because there's something good in it that they saw, and you recognize that because now it's huge. You say because you knew. Just because you got blocked by those 3 peers doesn't mean it's a great idea. You still believed in what you did. And every challenge that we come across is because there's a growth to be had. So every blockage means, some people saw something great in there and they don't want that published. So you need to have that mindset thinking, just because I get a refusal doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's because something great is in there. And I need to find the opportunity. Every challenge is an opportunity.
Right. And then you can just reinvent yourself and do whatever. Do a different path. Like, okay, the ASCRS, now that it's a dwindling organization, it's on the downswing.
Yeah.
But there's 0 chance I can ever be involved in the leadership there.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Okay. So what?
Yeah.
I don't need it.
Yeah.
I don't need it. If I ask you, who was the ACR's president 5 years ago? You have no idea. I have no idea. Who cares?
Yeah,
it means nothing. Literally means nothing. It's a feather in your hat that no one even is going to realize. But if it makes you happy, then you go for it. But for me, I'll do a different path.
Yeah, that's it. So it's different for different people what they want to do. The whole point of that exercise is to recognize that whatever image that conjures up in our mind when we think of those leadership positions is informed by what we are used to. So if our professional personal network is of certain diversity, then those images will come up in our head. So we need to get away from that and say, look, we need to be open that there are other diversity related piece that can be coming up in our circle that we need to open the gate to. If you have a gatekeeping role, that is your responsibility to make sure all merits come through, not just the one that you're familiar with in your professional and your personal network. So that's what I wanted to highlight with this unconscious bias, that you will be informed by your current network, current professional and personal network.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and for me also, in my own life experiences with essentially every female in my entire family line is a physician.
Exactly. So you will have a very skewed, view of what you think is the role of female great leaders, because you've seen.
Well, like I told my daughter when she was young, I told her, I said, when you grow up, you can be any kind of doctor you want, anything.
Yeah. Any kind of doctor. As long as she's a doctor, she's fine.
No, believe me, my kids are really smart because they don't listen to me ever. So that's like the best. They always do things their own way.
Yeah.
I don't.
So they
I
should.
don't.
Yeah.
They're way smarter than I ever was. I assure you.
Oh, I know. It's amazing, isn't it? The the recent, the new generation. They're so savvy, and they know what they're not happy with, what they're happy with, and they just. I just feel very impressed with the amount of savviness that the new generations have.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Even the way of learning is different.
Yeah.
I'm super impressed. I think the new generation is so amazing. If I applied to med school today, there's no chance I'd be doing it. I wouldn't get in. If I applied to ophthalmology today, oh, come on. I'd be a GP, a general practitioner somewhere. I would never get, there's no way.
That's so lovely to hear that you saying that.
But it's true that people now, it's unbelievable. You see these applications, you're like, oh my goodness. It's like,
oh, I know.
I was never that good. Sometimes better to be lucky than good. I got lucky.
Yeah, impressive. Very impressive. Impressive.
The new generation is very impressive. They're just, wow, amazing young people. So I think the future of ophthalmology is very bright. I'm very impressed by the young generation. I think we'll have less and less of these biases in the future. Yeah. I think we're certainly moving in just a very positive direction.
Yeah, I am really hopeful that, we are going to be moving to that abundance mindset, and we're going to really embrace the growth and the potential of opportunities that are out there. And ophthalmology is a great field, it's moving all the time. It's reinventing and revolving and innovating all the time. And it's a great time to be an ophthalmologist.
It really is. Oh, thank you so much I can't believe we've been talking for an hour. What a great conversation. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me. I feel very honored. Thank you.
My pleasure. We'll put some links down below, whatever links you give us that you want to feature here. We're happy to include those. Remind our listeners and viewers, remember, we got a new CataractCoach podcast every single Sunday on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and where you find a podcast, you can find the CataractCoach podcast. We also have a new CataractCoach video every single day. We're at 2,700 videos in a row. Never missed a day, never will. And remember, we also have a Retina Rounds channel. Retina Rounds also has a video profile, and then also has a beautiful podcast every weekend too. So until next time, I will catch you later.